Alrighty, we are back. This time it's a really special meeting for me or hangout. This is Aunt Hicks. He is coming to us from Arizona. So welcome, Wild Ones. Becca Breen here again with Wild and Well Together. And today we have a fun guest speaker talking about purpose and what that looks like for him. So I don't want to share anything too much, but welcome, Aunt. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. Without further ado, we talk about with our community and building this out is this idea of you have a seat at the table. Each person, often we hear like this group doesn't have a seat at the table, or like, oh, I'd really love to push into this sphere, and yeah, I don't get that invite. And so one of the big things that we want people to know within this podcast is you have a seat at the table. So having a seat at the table, what are you bringing food wise for our listeners?
Well, I'm gonna have to say seafood boil.
Okay. And what does that consist of? Or like, give us a little bit of backstory. Like, did your grandma make it for you? Where did you come? Yeah, did you grow up by coast? Where'd you
Um,
come from with that?
what I would say with seafood boil, it's a food that you can share with a lot of people, and it's very hands-on. It's not like a very quote unquote bougie dinner, like a steak. You don't have to use plates and knives and a whole bunch of utensils. You just get a whole bunch of newspaper, throw it on a long table, just pour it out, and everybody just grabs what they want. And it's messy, but in a good way. It's not to where you have to ask people, hey, can I have this portion? Can I have this? It's just grab what you want. And there's a sense of freedom with it. It's very casual. So when you do have it in group settings, it's just everybody gets to be them. You don't have to put on a facade or a little mask on who you are. You don't have to mask your words and your vocabulary because you're in a specific space. Like, oh, these are some people that are higher ups. I have to talk this way or vice versa. But it's just very good food, and it's easy to be you when you're eating seafood boil to me.
I love that. I'm throwing you on the spot again, Aunt. Are you a cook? Like, are you making it or are you going to a local shop and buying it?
I'm not making it here in Arizona just because the seafood here is absolutely abysmal. We have terrible water quality, but I do like to cook a lot. Living by myself, it's kind of a necessity. I have nobody else to cook for me, so I definitely had to learn that early. But cooking's very fun. You throw on some football, basketball, whatever, and just take the time to really understand what you like to eat. Sometimes it might be nasty,
Yeah.
it's a part of the game,
Yeah.
but it is fun overall.
I love that. Well, good. All right. So we're coming in. We're gonna have the seafood boil. And who are you bringing with you? Who are you gonna sit down at the table with? Who's your guest of honor?
Mr. Denzel Washington.
Ladies want to be with him. Men love who he is, want to be him. Tell me about him though for you.
That dude is just a great example of how to stay true to yourself in a very corrupt system. A lot of us know how Hollywood is behind closed doors and a lot of things that certain people have to do to get certain roles and things of that nature. And he really just stayed true to himself throughout his entire career. He didn't settle and he didn't try to take roles that were outside of his guidelines of what he believed as a person. He kept God first throughout the entirety of it, which is very, very huge for me. And then seeing his family life as well, like how his wife held him down throughout his whole career, and she's still there. His son, John David Washington, another amazing actor. There's a movie called Tenet, directed by Christopher Nolan. If you ever get the chance to check that out, really, really good. It's with John David and Robert Pattinson. Um, but just seeing how his pipeline is and who he's affected just from his career with Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace to him, and just a whole bunch of other Black creators in that specific realm has been really inspiring.
Cool. Tenant it is. I just wrote that down because I haven't watched Tenant. So
It's
is
really
it
it's so
is
confusing,
it
but it's
aggressive? Like is it something I'm gonna have to like cover my eyes? And I mean that because
no,
I'm a little bit of a yeah. Is it a feel good? Like put it in a genre for me so I know when I go into it.
it's so Christopher Nolan, he's my favorite director, and his movies they really make you think. Tenet is probably the most confusing movie I've ever seen, just because it deals with different aspects of time and going into the future, but the future is also the past, and the past is actually the present, things of that nature. It took me about 8 watches to somewhat understand it, but it's very, very good, and it's gonna make you wanna watch it more than once for sure.
Cool. All right, date night for me, alone night. Sounds like I'm gonna have to binge watch it, but the same thing over and over again just so I can
It's
learn
it's
it. But
really good. There's nothing scary or
cool.
aggressive about it. It's very calm. It's good storyline.
All right, Tenant. For those of you listening, throw it on your list. Also respond. This gets sent out on Spotify and YouTube and Apple or wherever you listen. Please throw in the comments. Do you give Tenet a thumbs up? Do you give it down? Would you enjoy a seafood boil? Would you bring Denzel, or where are you at with that? So I appreciate you setting the scene of where we're at. And now I'm going to get into some heavier hitting questions, or want to just to get to know you, Ant. And for those of you listening, a background is Ant has been a leader since he was young and continues to be. So a little story for the listeners. I worked at a high school that Ant went to as a school counselor and as a mentor and leadership teacher or sponsor. And so I got to know Ant, and then we brought this up, or you brought this up before filming, and COVID hit your senior year. And so we went from like crushing things left and right to then like, oh my gosh, how do we still finish out a year, all the ups, downs, and all arounds that COVID was for us? And so I paint that picture, because then fast forward 5 years, and you're welcome to go back to that any time, but I want people to know where we come from.
Hmm.
But you were a stud athlete then, brilliant. Like, we're talking engineer mindset, getting his master's now. And again, if you don't want to go into that, that's okay. If you do, invitations there, but setting the table for Ant. So those are true to you. You love family. God's super important to you. There's just this character where your compass points north. Like, you are a real one. I know that that's something that, high school students would say, and y'all would throw stuff at me, like, just like jokes, right? And I would so appreciate that, because there's a clear difference between me being in my 30s and y'all being high school students, which is healthy and appropriate. And so y'all would be like, you're too old. But at the same time, you would meet me where you were at and what you needed, and you led your peers by seeing them first. And I saw, even though you were in your teens, this this gentleman who said, hey, I see you. I want it to be fun. I want it to be important and have this meaningful purpose to it. And so fast forward now, 6 years, and I'm like, oh, when the team and I for Wild and Well together, when we decided like, who do we want to have guest speak? You came up first, because I said, okay, here's this guy who's leading the Gen Z world, and not speaking and generalizing for everyone, but someone who is in that generation, yet who has wisdom like Denzel Washington. I'll put you in the same room as him. And I can't wait to see where you are in 40 years, because I know where you've been the last 6, and I know it's going to be consistent, because it has been. And that doesn't mean there's not going to be downs. That doesn't mean you haven't walked through hard, right? Like, I saw you in your community walk through not getting to have prom, right? Not getting to have graduation as the rest of your peers had for 10 years prior, all of generations had before, to not get to have to have closure to high school, and then to have to start college in that same sphere, where the rest of us are like, oh, we're at home. Maybe we get a video game more. Maybe we get to create something. Maybe we get to work out more, right? But it was very different for your generation. So I set that scene, because something that we talk about in Wild Well together is, how do we choose to move through the mud, not just sit in it? How do we choose to move through it? But how do we also have fun while doing it? How are we honest with ourselves and the crew around us? And so you have embodied that beautifully over the last 6 years. So again, I think the world of you. Thank you for joining today. Tell me, what has like the last 6 years meant to you, and just where are you finding meaning in your life right now? That's a question we ask on regular for episodes.
Um, Honestly, for the last 6 years, like you mentioned, it's been such a non-traditional route. With COVID hitting, not having closure from high school, and rather than kind of taking the summer to just chill and do whatever I wanted, spend time with friends. My parents were very, very heavy on not going out. So I was inside. I did not get to see friends. Couldn't do anything. So transitioning into college and being a biomedical engineer major my first 2 years was a very interesting time. Our classes weren't in person. So my days consisted of waking up in my dorm room, getting on my laptop for about 8 hours. And the only time I would really leave my room was to go to the dining hall to go get food. But I would grab the food and come right back to my dorm. So I was depressed during that time for sure. It just wasn't fun. The whole point of college is to expand, get out, meet people, go to basketball games, go to football games, all these events. And we just didn't have that. Um, so my grades started to slip. Like high school, I was a 4.0 student, never got anything below a B. We get to college, now I'm getting C's and just barely making it past. I think my sophomore year, spring semester, my GPA dropped to like a 1.8 for that semester. It was not good. So I made the transition to urban planning. Everything got a lot better. I ended up graduating early. So I graduated in December of 2023, which was also weird too. It's colder during that time. It's not the traditional like everybody comes in and the whole college town is just booming because it's graduation. It's more just we get a cool little weekend and that's it. After that, I got into coaching high school sports. So I'm currently the head coach for the boys track and field team at Camelback High School here in Phoenix.
That's
Shout out
awesome.
the shout out the Spartans. I've been coaching there for I'm going on my fifth season this year. So I've been there for a while. This is gonna be my second season as the head coach, or third season, excuse me. Um,
Is that a
that's
fall
honestly
sport, spring sport? What's that?
spring sport.
Spring sport. Okay, so same as
Mhm,
back here. Okay.
mhm.
How we
That's
looking?
honestly great. That's been the most rewarding thing that I've done out here, to be honest. Um, I started off when I was a sophomore in college. So I was 19 and I was just a volunteer coach. And
Hey, there ain't no just in that.
yeah,
There's no just in volunteering. That means you do the work still, but don't have a paycheck at
and
the end of the
didn't
day.
get paid.
And
No,
we have to get there, right? I do with
yeah,
soccer. I hear you, but there's no just in that. Okay.
yeah. Shout out Tori Anderson. Love that woman to death. She brought me onto her staff. She was rebuilding by herself and she was a cross country lady. So she had no clue how to do sprints, jumps, or anything like that. So I was actually skipping class to come and help at practice just to get these kids onto the right path because the location that they're at is the school is honestly displaced. It's in a very nice area. I'm 2 minutes away from the school, like where I live now, but the kids that attend the school aren't very well off. They have to take public transit to get to school. There's no school buses that goes to the neighborhoods and picks them up. Some kids often live 30 plus minutes away. They don't have a great family life. So sports is their primary outlet to get to where they want after graduation. And with a lot of schools out here, it's just, okay, we're going to get you through these grades. We're not really going to focus on getting you better. It's just, we're going to get you through and then get you out. And then after that, you do what you want.
Cool.
So
Keep going. Keep going. I
with
want to hear where you're at. Yeah, keep going.
the young men that I was able to coach during this time, I still talk to this day. Those are literally my little brothers. My first year being head coach, we won our district championship, which was huge. That was the first time in 30 years we've ever won a district championship. And it was because everybody bought into the program. That was me being with them for 2 years now, so they understood where I was coming from and all the stuff that I was telling them is what I did. And I was really passionate about it because, like I mentioned, like COVID happened. So I didn't get my senior year of track and field where we had super high hopes, wanted to win state. I wanted to get a scholarship and compete, like all that type of stuff. And it never played out the way that I intended. So now I took, throughout my tenure, I think I've taken 13 kids to state. We've won district. I think last year we placed third and we did not even have the firepower to really compete the way we wanted to. I'm still currently training my former athletes to get ready for tryouts for ASU. We have some other kids that are at D2s, community colleges. So just really getting them to where they want it is been a big thing for me and just working with kids. I love it a lot.
Yeah, I love that for you, and for many reasons, right? Because I know that those kids are being seen, yes, as athletes, but also first as men, right? Or
Mhm.
guys, and first as humans, and saying like, okay, what do you need? Even you calling out in a place of authority, like, yes, your grades matter. However, get through them. Like, it's okay for us to say you don't have to be straight A students. Get through them so you can get to the next place, and let's have some fun running while doing it, right? And it's bringing that excellence in a way that isn't like, "Oh, you have to be great at everything." It's like, "No, let's call it what it is. Home life is what it is. It takes you 30 minutes to get here. Let's call that out," right? Like, all these different complexities that come into then the kids like, "Coach, I just wanna run." Right? And we meet them there, but we realize, "Okay, like, today was harder," or, "Did you eat?" or, "What are the other things that impact you?" So I appreciate you sharing that, and this week we've talked about on Mondays, we talk just ladies, and then it's co-ed, he said, she said on Wednesdays, and then now for you, this theme has been purpose this week as far as, like, how can we realign not of, like, what is my purpose? Because that feels heavy, right? And COVID hits,
Yeah.
right? Imagine if I was like, "Aunt, your purpose is to run track in college and become a biomedical engineer," and that's it, right? Then COVID hits and those 2 things get stripped from you. Now what's your purpose, right? And so you just illuminated a lot of that of you saying like, "Okay, here's my journey of me figuring out what is important to me and what is not, and how do I navigate finding meaning in life when things do get taken away from me?" So the question then is, how does purpose, this week's theme, show up in your life or work?
I would say with purpose, you have to do everything with intention. The world is not nice. It's never will be, and it's not going to be fair. That's just the way that life works. So you have to be willing to adapt and adapt quickly to what goes on. It's easy to kind of just linger in your sorrows and feel bad about yourself, but nobody's going to come save you at the end of the day, especially as you get older. I feel kind of in undergrad, you're in that little lull to where you're still reliant on your parents and you're still a kid and you're just kind of in this little purgatory. You're not in real life yet, but you're not in high school. So you kind of get to get away with stuff and just do what you want, essentially. And then as soon as graduation hits, it's like, okay, I got to find a job, bills to pay, I have a whole bunch of other things to worry about rather than what party I'm going to go to this weekend or what homework assignment. And it's even worse when you're in school and you're in real life. When
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
work
Now you're holding weights of both,
Yeah.
right?
So, like, when I'm going to work after I complete this and I'm still thinking about, "Okay, do I have homework assignments?" Thank God it's fall break this week, so no homework for me.
Enjoy. Enjoy.
Yes. But just having to kind of adapt to really make yourself feel comfortable and be at your best because it's easy to get overwhelmed with life and all the things that come at you. Like with me, I'm doing school, I'm working, I have my brand RLA Studios that I'm working on as well.
We'll come back
It's
to that. We'll come back to that, y'all. We're not just
yeah,
skipping over it.
it's a lot. So being very intentional and keeping a nice circle around you is another thing. As you get older, you start to realize you need like less and less amount of friends just because too many eyes on you and too many people suggesting things just truthfully isn't the best option. And you'll have real friends along the way. And just because I want people to know this, just because you don't talk to people every day or every month or every 3 months doesn't mean they're still not your friends. Like all my people from senior year from high school, we still are in touch. I will reach out. They will reach out every so often, and it'll be a great connecting moment for us. But we all have lives. We're not going to be on our phone every day texting each other anymore. That's just not the way it is. So I want people to really understand that because that can be a mindset for people. Like, well, they forgot to say happy birthday to me. Like, I guess we fell off. Like, no, maybe they were just busy. So
Which is
keeping
hard though
that
when for a year
mm,
of your senior year, right, like, going into first year, it was only online, right? And so again, it's that, like, okay, this is what I got used to, and Gen Z's of the generation of technology too and stuff, and that's was put on you. So again, that's not something that y'all chose, that was put on you,
mhm.
and so then you choose your response and your reaction, which is what you're getting at. So I love that you're giving that insight of, like, "Hey, y'all, listen, having close friends matter. Having all the friends in the world, no, it's not gonna play out how you want." And also if the frequency isn't daily of a text or even weekly or monthly, still show up or still realize that they may be a good friend to you and figure out and navigate that realm rather than just saying like, "Peace, I'm out."
Mhm.
Is that what I'm hearing in that?
Yeah, pretty much. You hit it right on the head. Um, that's all it is. You just gotta meet people where they are, essentially. Not everything's about you at the end of the day.
But I want it to be.
That's the thing, because people can be going through things, and sometimes their way of coping is through distance, and that's okay. But that doesn't give you the right to say, well, since you're being distant from me, that means we're probably not friends anymore. It's like, how about you check in, see if they're okay? If you get a response, great. If not, maybe check in a different time. When you think too deep into things like that, it tends to eat you up and then turns you into a person that you don't want to be. And then that's a reflection to everybody else on, is this person really who I want to be my friend if I'm not responding right away? Or like, am I cool with them and we can just talk when we talk and it'll be like we never missed a beat?
Yeah. Oh, give this man a mic. You will be invited back all the time, and I know that you said that you're yeah, going into urban planning and architecture and all this, which is amazing, and I hope you do. Equally, though, if you decide just to pick up a mic and keep letting your story be heard, please do because we all need more of you. Um, I so appreciate you. With that, leaving the listeners with what is a word, quote, or concept that you really like? So as you're sharing all this friendship and purpose and whatnot, yeah, what's something that guides you internally, both as a quote and then also I'm gonna pair it just a second before we go of what do you wish more people knew and believed? So those two hand in
Yeah.
hand.
So let me pull it up. It's a Bible verse that just hit me a couple days ago. I've been going through a little situation, and that verse was just dead on time. So I want to share it with everyone.
I love that. You may have read that verse 30 times over the last 20 years and like never landed. And then you're like,
Yeah, and as soon as I feel like with the Bible, as soon as real life starts to hit, the Bible makes more sense. But as a kid,
yeah,
you're just like, all these big words, what does that mean?
yeah.
But this verse is Ecclesiastes 6:9, and it says, "It is better to be happy with what you have than to always want more and more." Always wanting more and more is useless. It is like trying to catch the wind. Um, that's that was huge for me this week. I had my clothing brand drop on Saturday. I was expecting larger numbers. Didn't do as well, but still did very well for the most part. And I was just asking God, like, why? Like, I put 6 years into this. I've been grinding. I spent a lot of money on this. And how come I'm not seeing the results? Not even 10 hours later, I get home from work and just not in the greatest headspace. And I see that verse. And I'm just like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. You're talking to me for sure.
And it
And
hurts, but I'm
it
here.
it hurts, but it's like I understand it. It's so easy to want more and more and more for yourself without actually realizing what you have. And then that leads into the second part of your question with what I wish that people knew more often is having a relationship with Jesus Christ. It's in this day and age, you have to rely on somebody. And it can't always be a human. It can't be your mom all the time. It can't be your dad all the time because at the end of the day, they're also going through things that they need someone else to rely on. So having that relationship with God has just really, really been important for me throughout these 6 years. I wouldn't be where I am without him and that connection. And I feel like in order to get closer to him, you have to be broken down. So all those trials and tribulations that I went through during undergrad and through even graduate school, when you're at your lowest, you're desperate. You look for anything and anyone to help you. But when you're kind of at that peak and everything's going well, you tend to forget everything and you think that you got it by yourself. And then that's when it could just get taken away, just like that. So being in that middle ground, like, okay, I did the work to get here, but also I had someone else help me as well. And I'm forever thankful. And you just got to stay within that humble realm. But that verse really, like, I cried when I saw that because it was just right on time. And the coincidental factor, I'm like, wow, Out of all the daily verses that I could have gotten in the Bible, that one. So that's something that I would share with everyone is be comfortable with where you're at, be thankful with what you have, because if you're not going to get more. And if you do get more, you're not going to be able to handle it and it's going to all crash and burn.
Oh, brother Ant coming in now from the pulpit. I love that. Gosh, you will be back, and I would love to have you back as many times as you want because these conversations could go on and on. And I think that that's something, again, for at any age is being content with where we're at. We live in a highly successful society. Consumerism is a huge part of our identity, for better, for worse, right? There's some pieces of it that are wonderful. And also a lot of it's like so hard where it's just like, how can I get? How can I get? How can I get? But then when I actually say, like, oh, how can I give? How can I create? How can I explore and find meaning and purpose in those?
Hmm.
And then be content whether I receive or not. It's a disposition to your point that says like, no, wait, I can actually live. I can actually have that seafood boil, even if I don't hit my numbers exactly. And that doesn't mean my numbers don't matter. My numbers matter a lot, right? I've put in time, I've put in resources, I've put in all these things, time away from friends and family, whatever it may be, to make this successful. So when it doesn't land exactly how I want, it's okay that I'm sad or upset. But then having something powerful like the Bible or like Jesus Christ in your life to come back and hit you in that moment of like, oh, okay, I'm
Hmm.
seen, I'm heard, I still have meaning. And hopefully I can reorient my brain is what I'm hearing, like my mindset to say, I can get up again tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just it gives you a source of encouragement, to be honest. Because rather than me not seeing anything or any type of sign, seeing that, like you said, it makes me feel heard and seen. And with God, there's always opportunities for lessons to be learned. And when you actually apply yourself and you take the time to really ask Him, like, okay, so what happened here and what do you want from me the next time? If you really listen, then He'll reward you. You just you got to be patient with everything, even though it's been 5 years. It's a long.
That is long, and so calling it out
Hmm.
and, like, for all the older listeners, and I'm talking, like, my parents' generation and grannies and stuff that I have listening, like, they're like, "Oh, just wait," right? Because 'Cause they've done the life, they've seen it, and so they're like, "Man, like, you're already putting in that time, Aunt, and that like, just wait." But when we're in it, it's like, "I don't wanna wait." Like, I'm already doing the grind, and so please hear me say, even through this podcast and this journey of moving online and taking mental health online, I hear you are preaching to the choir, so thank you for sharing that. Share however much or little as you want, but RL RLA, I said that correctly,
Hmm.
your studios, like, what is the clothing brand? What's your handle? Just anything. How can we reach you? How can we follow you? Where we can buy, yeah, really cool jeans?
Yeah. So just a quick little background, because RLA it really means a lot to me. It stands for Root Lifestyle Apparel.
Say that again
Um,
one more time.
Rude Lifestyle Apparel. RUDE is an acronym originally, and it stands for Release Undesired Emotions. I came up with this during COVID, during summer.
Yeah.
I started drawing on t-shirts. So all my senior friends that committed to their colleges, I did a t-shirt order where I would draw their logo on a t-shirt with a Sharpie and outline it with bleach, and it would have some color popping to it. It was a super fun time. I'll see if I can find a picture that I can show you. And from there, I bought a sewing machine, just started playing around with it. Fast forward 5 years later, I'm still doing it. This is a hoodie that I made. It's a
Shout out. Cool.
camo and rhinestone, super comfy.
Yeah, rock it.
But um, it's a very fun thing to do on the side. It is. It does take a little bit of money. So for those that are out there thinking, especially through social media, the younger kids, it's not a quick money grab. It is far from it. You have to put on a lot more than you will eventually receive. Um, it's hard on your mental. You have to really be dedicated to your craft. If you don't like making clothes in general, it's not for you, unfortunately. So just keep that in mind if you ever have the thoughts about it. Just make sure it's really what you want to do. And like we talked about earlier, and you do it with a purpose and intent, or else it's not going to work out. Um, but you can reach us on Instagram. Our handle is at RLA Studios.us. We just recently hit 6,000 followers the
Oh,
other
no.
day. So that's a big milestone,
Yeah.
closer to 10K. That's super fun. But yeah, that's
I
really
love
the brand.
I love that. I cannot wait to see. Uh, yeah, listeners, please go check it out. RLA Studios on Instagram. It is such a joy to have you here, Aunt. And I am so grateful for you. I know I shared this before and I will continue to share this offline, but you are a leader. And a word that just came up in my mind is a polymath. I don't know if you know that term, but it's where it's a person who has, like, a wide range of skills. Polymath. Yeah, polymath. And that is you, right? You're like, "Oh, I just bought a sewing machine and now I have a business. And, oh, wait, I'm also an engineer by trade. And then, oh, wait, I switched over because I actually wanted to do something different. And so now I'm an architect," right? And just all these things. And they're like, "Oh, by the way, I'm head coach." And I'm like, "You are the definition, the epitome of a polymath," which is amazing because very few people reach that. And if you don't, that's okay. But for you to do things with such excellence, no doubt that you find purpose and meaning in many, many ways, or that you operate and you exist in that excellence with purpose. And so, thank you for being here. Wild Ones, check him out. I am so grateful for you, Aunt. I'm going to sign us off. But yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Mhm.